Hello, everybody. My name is Jade, and I am the founder of STEAM School. For those of you who haven't met us before, we are the most amazing virtual activity club for future inventors, engineers, and tech entrepreneurs. We give our members a glimpse into the future with our weekly broadcasts, interviewing STEAM experts from all over the globe. And they come from lots of different types of companies. They are young entrepreneurs, eco celebrities, and big brands like Pokemon Go and Instagram and Fortnite have also all contributed to our weekly broadcasts. This is our first live show on Twitter and streamed to YouTube as well. We're given the current crisis that we're in, and lots of our members are at home. We wanted to offer some extra support. So this is our first Ask Alex show. Ask the expert. He's called Alex. I'm going to introduce you in a little minute. And what we're going to do, here he is. Hi, Alex. Hello. What we're going to do on this show is just talk about the challenges that run alongside our broadcast. So for those of you who don't know, we host 6 missions every year. We're currently in a live mission called Entrepreneurs, where we've invited really, really exciting young entrepreneurs who use science and technology skills to create their own businesses and inventions. And we have 18 different challenges that our members can complete alongside those broadcasts. So this show is to give you a little bit of extra help and support to actually complete some of those missions. So let's say hello to Alex. Alex works as part of the STEAM School team. We've also worked together in a really forward-thinking school here in Liverpool for young video gamers. He's an expert in creativity, in all things kind of visual arts, and I'm really pleased and proud for him to come on and help out with this show. So hello, Alex.
Hello, thank you, Jade. Yeah, sure. It's amazing to be here.
We're really, really delighted to have you on. Okay, so let me tell you, I've already given you a little bit of an overview of the Entrepreneurs Mission. We've got 6 different guests featured in this mission. Last week, we interviewed a young gentleman from Ireland who's currently living in Amsterdam. He won the Google Science Prize last year for his invention that is going to help remove microplastics from water. So he was a really, really inspirational guest. He's so passionate about inspiring young people to embrace a sense of creativity and playfulness with science exploration. And he's even had a planet named after him by MIT, which is just super awesome. We've got a whole series of other guests coming over the next few weeks. This week is a young entrepreneur from Estonia called Timo, who runs a company called Wolf 3D, and they work with some of the biggest gaming companies across the globe, creating 3D avatars. Whole host of other stuff coming up as well. But yeah, that's what we're all about. So Alex, you watched the show last week. What did you think?
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, anytime there's a young person who is making such an impact on the world and just exploring their creativity, I think it's incredibly inspiring. So to hear his story of, someone who had like a real passion for nature, a real passion for science, and just the curiosity to kind of merge the two worlds and start thinking about, how could I fix a problem in the nature that I love using the science that I love, I thought was just really inspiring.
Yeah. And I loved that as well, that he he'd taken on this project at such a young age, because sometimes we think, oh, we're concentrating on our studies, don't necessarily have to get involved in anything outside, of our day-to-day curriculum. But what I loved is having explored those passions, having the motivation and the aspiration to do what he's achieved. It's opened up so many opportunities to him. So he'd been to Davos this year. He's sponsored by Google. He does lots of talks like he did on our show. It's just opened up a world of opportunity for him.
Even just the opportunity to study abroad, that's something that was facilitated by the prize and by the opportunity that the doors that opened for him. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant. And for any young scientist watching, a great inspiration.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in terms of our challenges for the Entrepreneur Mission, we've got 18 different challenges. There are 6 different pathways. What we've tried to do in this mission is link every broadcast to a different challenge pathway. So for this show, it's particularly the science pathway. So before we get into the specifics of what those challenges look like, Alex, as somebody who is an expert teacher and a dad, why do you think students should get involved in exploring some of those challenges and getting some digital badges on our platform?
Okay, I mean, this mission, I love this mission because you've got just a range of different skills being implemented week by week. So whilst there is this theme of incredible young people who are making a difference, actually they're doing very different things. So looking at the mission map, it's so exciting to see week by week the different things you can engage with. So obviously Theon as a really inspiring scientist, but we've also got people that upcycle, we've got people that are 3D avatar designers. So there's just an opportunity to explore so many things. And I think when we're growing in our expertise, the opportunity to try lots and lots of different things. Some missions we might be more successful in because perhaps they fit our skill set more effectively, but actually having a go at, say, Theon's mission and then Timu's mission, they're going to be quite different experiences. And I think it's just a great opportunity to test yourself, get out of your comfort zone, but engage with some of this incredible work that the young people are doing across the world.
Absolutely. And I think also it's important for students to embrace things as well. First of all, that there are their passions, but also not to be frightened to take on some of the challenges that perhaps they don't think are naturally in their area of expertise. Because actually, they might discover a new skill set that they didn't already know that they had. But also it's that willingness to embrace something new, to not be frightened, to kind of fail at it, or not succeed, just to give it a go.
Well, and that's been the theme. I think every single guest that's been on your show has said is failure being this really crucial part of the journey. And I think particularly when we're young, we worry that failure means that we can't progress. And actually failure is such an important part of developing an idea or getting better. For me, that was a really important lesson in life and in my studies and in my work, was to realize that all these times I test things and they don't quite pay off. That's like the real learning opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And for every challenge, what I think is a really important part of the STEAM School platform is that students not only have to give it a go, but to get their digital badge, they've got to complete a challenge journal. And for me, that gives young people an opportunity to be reflective, not only on how they've approached the challenge, what they've learned, but actually what they might like to explore and learn next.
Yeah, fabulous. And I think if you can start to identify all of those things as you go through that journey, it could be like a minor element of the challenge really piques your interest, and you don't have a huge amount of time to explore it within the challenge, but it's something you want to come back to at a later date. I think that's such a great opportunity.
Yeah, it's pretty fab, pretty fab. Okay, so can you talk us through the science challenges for the Entrepreneur's Mission? Give us any hints and tips. What would you do? How would you approach it?
What would I do? Good question. So I'm looking at so I'm going to start with the Sonic mission. And I think like this is a really interesting start to your research in terms of identifying where microplastics or where plastic might lie within your house, because I think it's one of those things that we look at a 3-minute timer, for example, as a challenge for us to find, and think, oh, I'm not going to find many. But I can look around my space now and realize that my room is absolutely filled with products that contain plastic. And actually, when you watch the video that's linked in the mission, just talks about the idea of these waste products bashing against each other, disintegrating, and these microplastics forming, that all of these products in my room that I can see right now are potentially damaging to the world. So the way I would approach this Sonic one is, and particularly thinking about the current climate and the challenge of staying connected, is I might be tempted to think about setting this as a challenge for the household, or pitting a number of friends against each other, where everyone gets allocated a certain room in the house, or if they're working in different houses, maybe you could all agree, we're all going to challenge ourselves to have 3 minutes in the bathroom to find as many plastic products, and just have a little competitive edge to it. Because I think that if you are concerned you're not going to find many products in 3 minutes, you're going to be really surprised. And I would like to throw in a little kind of competitive angle. So if you're looking at that and thinking, I'm going to explore that, and maybe there's a couple of kids at home, or whether there's someone they can do a house party or a video chat with one of their friends in a different house, and then you can set the timer and get them racing around the house. I'm thinking like a kids game show, legging around the bedroom looking for different plastic products. I think that would add a really fun angle to this.
That's brilliant. And for parents watching, or teachers who are perhaps new to the programme, Sonic Challenges give our members 10 points for their locker room. So it's something that is it's a challenge that's relatively simple and easy to approach, something that you can do quite quickly, but the different levels actually build. So you get more points. Of course, to get more points, it's a kind of a bigger, perhaps more complex project.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's nice to kind of like work gradually, because you're with Theon's quite complex invention, chipping away at that incrementally. So kind of exploring it at different levels of complexity is really, really important. Yeah, so I think it's a really nice mission to start, because it gets you to engage with what's happening in your environment, your immediate environment, and thinking about the volume of plastic products that you might have in your house, and then starting to think about the lifespan of some of those products, how long they're going to exist, probably for far beyond I will. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Let's move on then. What's the Supersonic Challenge?
Okay, so this is like taking our treasure hunt a little bit further and thinking about 3 of those products and digging a little bit deeper on them. So the idea of finding sustainable alternatives to these products, and they quite often exist, but plastics are a convenience. They're a thing that we are reliant on because we can pick them up in any supermarket. And actually, with a little bit of research, we can often find that there's an alternative that exists to that product that we're using, either a more eco-friendly packaging, such as like a biodegradable package, or a completely alternative approach to that product. I happened to stumble across something the other day that was like a teeth whitener, And every time I see these teeth whiteners advertised on social media, they're full of plastics. Whereas this one was like almost like a dust that you just put on your toothpaste. And it kind of showed me that there's different products out there for everything. So for this challenge, it's about making a blog and talking about the problem, but also the opportunities to think about sustainable alternatives and what might exist out there. I think it's a nice thing to set a challenge again, that if you realize that there's easily accessible alternatives out there, to start making a shift with some of the purchases within the household. And as young people quite often have some sway in that department, particularly when they're inspired about the environment. So yes, certainly. And I think with the idea of writing a blog, it gives you an opportunity to be quite reflective on perhaps your own use of plastics, your household's use of plastics, and the opportunity to see more environmentally friendly alternatives as the years progress. You know, this is a thing that we're a bit late to as a society, and actually the younger generation have got an opportunity to really reconfigure the way they think about all of these household products that we use. I think there's an opportunity for young people to start thinking really critically about what's happening in the household. And a blog is a really nice opportunity to do a piece of introspective, reflective writing that identifies maybe some of the flaws in what's happening in society and looks really hopefully and positively towards this kind of future where alternative products are more accessible, perhaps more affordable, and more widespread.
Absolutely. And if our students need any more inspiration, go and have a look at the No Planet B mission. There's a young entrepreneur in there. Her company's called Circular. So she is British. She's in her early 20s. And she actually very, very quickly, I think in the space of 4 weeks, created her own sustainable, eco-friendly products for travellers, which she did up until very recently sell in Luton Airport. If you want a little bit of an update on her, go and check out her Instagram, because she's now selling subscription boxes just to keep her business going whilst we're all at home. And how wonderful is that? That's called a pivot. That's called a pivot for any entrepreneurs out there. It's where you have to change what you do to adapt to the circumstances. So she's a really good one to go and have a look. So let's do the final one, because we want to finish before 11, because there's a minute silence. So
sure
yeah.
Thing.
So let's look at the last one. Hypersonic challenge.
Inventing a new product to tackle the plastic pollution problem. That's a big challenge, but you know, this is really exciting because it is so open. I think it's an opportunity to perhaps learn from the previous challenges in terms of the types of product that you've got in your house. I would say that you don't have to approach it from the same angle as Theon in terms of cleaning up the microplastics in the sea. You know, there's other ways to tackle the plastic pollution problem. That might include alternative packaging, that might include similar scientific approaches that Theon took, where he has a hypothesis, and is willing to test it. Now, we're not living probably in houses with labs right now, but that's part of the fun of the science, is having an idea and thinking of the ways that you can test it. So if you've got you might have been walking along the beach or through the park, and you might have perceived a challenge, an issue there with the plastics pollution, and maybe a little spark in your head has just gone, why doesn't this happen, or why don't people do this? And at that point, you've got the beginnings of a hypothesis that you can begin to explore. And I think that's when the challenge becomes really exciting. It's a massive challenge. It's big. It's open. But you've got an opportunity to explore that in the way that is most appropriate for you. What was really good about Theon, and I said this earlier, was that he has like a real passion for those kind of seaside walks. Now, where you live, perhaps you don't live on the coast, and plastic pollution impacts your community in a different way. So that's when you can bring in your angle, put it into the context of your town, your village, your city, and start thinking, what does the plastic pollution look like for me, for my friends, for my school community, for my family? And at that point, that's when you can bring in your passion, because it's attached to something that that you love, your area, your community.
Yeah, I think that's so important to think about your immediate environment, your immediate community, and how you can help. I guess some families, parents, students might look at that challenge and think, oh my God, that's massive, it's huge. But one of the things that I've found working with young people over the years, particularly on tech, science, and entrepreneurial challenge, is that their creativity is endless, isn't it? And who knows, with that really unfiltered creativity, what really clever solutions they might come up with.
Absolutely. And I think that, Jay talked about the fact that we used to work together. And one of the things that we would work on is setting these kind of problems for children. And there would be times where we would think, is this too big? And inevitably, children are amazing at looking at a problem and coming at it from an angle that's so unexpected, yet like incredibly creative, incredibly intelligent and insightful. And there wasn't an occasion where we set a challenge like this that we didn't come up with something that was kind of mind-blowing and something that perhaps we would never have considered as adults in conversation. It was something that was really pure. And also, I think that the great thing about having children tackle problems like this is children don't get bogged down by as many of the constraints and that sort of negative feedback about why things can't happen. Like children are very hopeful about solving the problem, and consequently quite often come up with ambitious ideas, but sometimes some ideas that can probably happen in the right circumstance.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, for me, when we worked in that particular school, that was the best part of of doing kind of projects with students. He was, these ideas that they came up with, you're just like, wow, I would never have ever thought of that. I used to love it when children would just kind of blow your mind with not only their skills, because they were really, really good at teaching themselves stuff. And I think we forget that sometimes, we're of a generation that, we've had to get used to all of this technology. Kids just pick it up, and I think their brains are wired in a different way, where they are just more available to come up with really, really fantastic solutions.
Agree, absolutely agree. Yeah, there's an openness to try stuff and to experiment, and I think when there's that excitement and passion that Fion demonstrated as well, that's when it becomes unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Now, when students have completed their challenge, they've completed their challenge journal, our parents, teachers have got to go in and press the approve button before students will get that digital badge in their STEAM School locker room. Is there anything that you think that parents should be looking out particularly for in a challenge response? So again, for those that haven't seen what our challenge journals look like, there's 3 parts to it. Children have to start off by saying, why they chose that challenge, what they're hoping to learn. There is a challenge midpoint check-in where they've got to talk about what skills they've learned already, what challenges they've had to overcome. And the last bit is called a challenge debrief. So it's a really reflective piece about what they've learned, what they've enjoyed learning, and what they'd like to learn next.
Yeah, so because the challenges become quite open, I think it's quite difficult to identify what are the things. But in terms of like what would be really great to see, it's just picking up on some of the things that I've spoken about. So an idea that if you're looking to approve a challenge where a child has identified a problem that is like local to them. It's like part of their life. I think that would be amazing to see. So where children have thought about their local park, or perhaps the maybe living in an apartment block and seeing like the amount of waste that gathers in the refuse area at the bottom, all of those sorts of things, and thinking about the challenges that exist within their life, I think would be amazing. I think that quality of reflection as well, where if you've got children that can identify, even if it's a small amount of the real learning that's happened, or where there's been a corner, like a change in direction in their thinking because of something that they've discovered, I think that would be amazing. So it could be useful to ask questions around, when did your thinking change, or when did your at any point did your idea change direction because of something that you learned, some new knowledge that you've acquired? I think those sorts of questions might draw out a really deep reflection in that journal. But yeah, I think an exciting solution, one that tackles something that's local, one that demonstrates perhaps a passion that the child already has, and those questions that kind of identify where the learning has taken place, where the change in thought process has taken place.
That's brilliant. And I think just one final point for me before we finish for the 11 o'clock silence is to say that intentionally, we don't set any success criteria for our challenges. We recognise that there are we have students of different ages, different levels of ability, engaging in our programme, different passions, different interests, and it's for that reason that the criteria is open. So you know your children or your students a lot better than us. So you'll be able to kind of know, once you read that challenge journal, maybe have a discussion if you've got time before you press that approve button. So yeah, so great. So listen, thank you very much for doing our first Ask Alex show. Alex, you've been it's so great to have Alex on, because he's such a wonderful teacher, and is totally kind of bought into the whole kind of what we are about at STEAM School, and he's a key member of our team. We're going to be here every week, every Tuesday at 10:30. I know some of our international families have asked us, could we do a later slot? And absolutely, we will try and alternate and make sure that we get some different times in. So if you're in a different part of the world, you can join us live. Also, don't forget, for next week, I know this is our first show, but you can send us a question in because it's Ask Alex, and he knows all the answers. So please make sure you do that. You can contact team@steam-school.com. Victoria there will answer, pick up your emails, and we'll make sure we get them fed into the broadcast. So that's it from us. If you've really enjoyed our show, make sure to check out our website. It's www.steam-school.com. Make sure you subscribe to our Twitter and YouTube account, and we're going to repost this on Facebook later on today. That's it for us. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
See you. Bye.
Bye.